welcome back to Ben's Den, everybody. I lied to you. I said I was doing my last preview show last night with the Meet of Champions, but I can't do that unless we cover the girls' state championships that occur on the same day as the Meet of Champions. They weave it in through the tournament. It's I think I want to say year 3, but I'll get clarification from some really smart coaches that I have joining me tonight to help me walk through the brackets. And so I guess without further ado, let's introduce them. So I'm going to bring them in. And we got a long-time visitor here in Ben's Den. He's a little foggy tonight, but he'll figure it out. He's still working on it. And if anybody wants to know where to give a webcam away, Coach Austin up at Plymouth. That's who's behind the haze there. He joins Ben's Den here to cover the girls' state championship this weekend, as does Charlie Kenna, longtime Concord wrestler, Plymouth State wrestler, current Lurgio head coach, and all-around wrestling maniac like myself. So he's got a lot of information on what's going to be happening this weekend as far as what are some good potential matchups and how things might shake out. So, gentlemen, pleasure to have you here. How's everything going?
Great. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, great, man. Thanks for having us.
All right. So I'm happy to report that the girls' tournament is officially larger by numbers. And if all goes well, those smart people behind the scenes like Mark Williams, he's determined that there would probably be 34 more matches this year than last year. So good sign. Things continue to grow. And I'm a firm believer, the more people see things, the more it attracts others to it. And so I consider pretty much all of these young ladies trailblazers. We're still a ways away from full brackets and, complete participation. But these are the young women that are really blazing the path. There's stages of the blazing, right? You got a Liz Donovan who's been on it for a long time. And then you got some others that have been on it for a little shorter time, but they're all blazing that path. And, the overall quality of the girls wrestling is rising. The numbers are going up. So I'm excited to talk about what's coming up for this Saturday and let the spotlight shine on them a little bit. And we'll get going right out of the gate on the small end of the scale where we go with 100 pounds. Same way we do it in for the boys where they're 106. Well, here we go with the 100-pounders. So your one seed is Joy Demons from John Stark. Let me just move this out of the way here. Your 2 seed, Kaylee Chandler. Let me get my bracket up over here. Chandler is from Salem. Oh, yeah, she's tough. 3, Dana English from Keene. She's your 3 seed. 4, Avery Hodgson out of Goffstown, and Shay Watson out of Wyndham. And so, from my perspective, it looks seated pretty good. There's a bunch of tough young ladies in there, and Joy's one of those young ladies. She's had to wrestle the boys. She's got a tough couple of practice partners that she's got to work out with, and seems to be paying off because she looks sharp this year. So, hey, Charlie, let me start with you, just because you got the best sweatshirt on. At 100 pounds, right? It's a lot of young up and comers and a couple of veterans hanging around. Like Dana's young, but she's been around for a bit. So, give me your thoughts on the 100-pound bracket.
I would say Chandler is looking really well, especially towards the end of the year. She's been doing a lot better than the beginning. She's traded some wins with Dana from Keene, so there's a potential upset there at 3-2. But I'm telling you, I think she's a freshman this year. She's only been getting better over the season, so I think she does have the potential to upset Demons. And I really haven't seen Joey much this year because, it just hasn't worked out that way. But she got 3rd last year at 107. Looked pretty tough there. So I think this is a good weight class, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, so the thing with Chandler out of Salem, right? Salem as a whole, they're just tough. And she's no different. When she straps that headgear on, she looks like she's ready to wreck somebody. Reminds me of another young lady that we'll talk about in a couple of brackets. You may know her, Charlie, but got that same crazy toughness and coming out to be in battle. And so, Coach Austin, I know that you're familiar with English. She's out in your neck of the woods. So what are your thoughts on this bracket?
Yeah, so English is from Keene, not really quite near us, but Joey Demons for sure. She's a Division 3 wrestler, pretty scrappy. She actually beat one of our guys last year for John Stark to win the dual meet against us. She's up for the fight and always in the match and works hard right till the end. So I've seen Chandler. I watched her wrestle up in Noble tournament over the Christmas break, and like Charlie said, at that time she was taking a couple lumps, but gotten better over the year. So looking forward to this bracket. It's good to see that we have that lighter weight for the girls at 100 pounds, so they can have their own spot. A lot of these girls weigh in, under 100 all year and have to wrestle boys at 106 or 108, and it's good to have their own weight.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to mention. So I don't know much about Shea Watson out of Wyndham, but I'm very familiar with Avery Hodgson out of Goffstown. She had older brother Lucas, who was he graduated last year. He's off his doing his thing, and she's just absolutely fallen in love with the sport. I think her biggest challenge right now is she's undersized, and so Joy's tough. Devins is not going to take it easy on anybody, win, lose, or draw. You're going to be in a battle with either of the two young ladies on that side on the in the semifinals right now, right? Devins or Chandler, and so I think 100 pounds is going to be an exciting bracket to watch. So we'll plug that one in for the weekend. Let's move along. We'll go out to 107 pounds. You got Olivia Mae Schultz. She's out of Goffstown, so our second Goffstown participant. That's your 1 seed. 2 seed out of Bedford, Yashi. Charlie, help me with this one. Bajpay?
Bajpai?
I'm right?
Yeah, pretty close.
I'm close. All right. And what a really nice young lady she is. She helped out at the tournament that Bedford host or allowed New Hampshire Way to host, and smile on her face all day, very pleasant, willing to help, and very focused. And she's another one, kind of brand new to wrestling, but just has taken to it and has run, and that's gotten her a 2 seed. So good spot for her to start the day in. Oliver Greer out of Keene is your 3 seed. And then you have Ella Paris out of Salem, another Salem wrestler. Again, Salem tough down low. That's your 4 seed. And then Brenna Crean, number 5 out of John Stark. And the similarities between her and her brother and how they move on the mat, they are both very bouncy. And they are super, like, fast twitch muscle fiber. They move quick. So she's going to be fun to watch. And again, fairly new to wrestling. Excuse me, got to get the mascot out of the way. But this is another bracket, the 107-pound bracket. I think there's going to be some fireworks here. So Mae Schultz, really tough, deserves the 1 seed. You got Stewart in the mix as well from Plymouth, Aubriana. So Coach Austin, let's start with you. I'm going to let Charlie wax poetic in a minute because he's got Yashi, and there's really some good stuff to say. So talk to me about Stewart, how she got here, and what your expectations are.
Yeah, so Aubriana's a first-year wrestler. She's a junior. Came in and just went to work. I brought her to her first tournament up in Maine just before Christmas, and had never been on the mat before. Had a couple wins and was runner-up at that tournament. And she just, learned all season. She's been working hard. She has a head-to-head with how do you say it, Bajpi from Bedford. It was a 4-3 match down at the Timberlane Girls Tournament. So opening round, it's I know she's the 2 seed, but she's looking forward to. We talked about it actually today, getting a little revenge if she can in that match. So looking forward to that. But also Ella Paris from Salem. I don't know if either one of you have seen her, but she's just a little rugged ball of muscle, and she's strong and tough. I think she was third at the Noble tournament and lost to one of the better up and coming wrestlers up there in Maine. And Coach Dearden said, "Geez, I've never seen her lose before." And I said, "Well, that other girl never loses." So it was a tough match, and she's just a strong kid. So even though she's a lower seed, my eyes are deceiving me, but I think she's a 4 seed. I think she can make some noise in that bracket as well.
She's actually unseeded. They,
No, she's the
Paris,
4 seed.
sorry,
Paris.
Paris. Excuse
Well,
me. Yeah,
yeah,
Paris. Sorry.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
I think it's worth mentioning. Again, the introduction of the girls only tournament is still fairly new. We're not having all girl duels. There's limited exposure to each other, and so I know that the committee does the best they can to seed it out with what they got. But I think that it definitely leaves a lot of room for a whole bunch of craziness to happen. Like you mentioned,
yeah.
a great match between a 2 seed and an unseed, and that just shows you kind of either the depth of the bracket or just the lack of interaction between everybody. But Charlie, Yashi's had an amazing run so far, and I imagine, what year is she?
She's a freshman.
I
So
mean,
she's probably one of my favorites for sure because
I can imagine.
she's never out of a match, but you never know when she's going to show up to the match. So
But she's still got to learn how to be a wrestler.
um, she could be down 10-0 and just turn it on and destroy someone. I've seen her do it several times this year. So
Yeah, and she's still making those rookie mistakes, and she could be up 10-2, and next thing you know, she's getting pinned just because she's still a rookie. So imagine what 3 more years of dedication looks like for her. Oh boy.
well, I mean, I'll just tell you, I wouldn't want to be the one seeding this bracket because all these girls, this isn't a case where we haven't had head-to-heads. All these girls have wrestled each other, and all of them have beaten each other. So, like, Ella Paris has beaten Greer, beaten Yashi, um, you know, and back and forth. Greer has beaten pretty much everyone in this bracket except for Olivia. Same with Yashi. Yashi's beaten Greer. Everybody's beaten everybody, so this is probably one of the more exciting brackets in the tournament, just at 107, just because literally anyone can win. Even the unseeded people have beaten people who are seeded or were in a 1-point match with someone who is. So
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this is a great bracket.
All
I'm
right.
excited.
So mark it on the schedule, 107. If you hear that bracket popping up, get to the mats. And not on the side of the mats. You guys are supposed to stay in the bleachers. I'm just saying. All right. So that's 107. That's going to be a good one. I'll tell you, Schultz is tough. That's going to be a real good one. And so, speaking of Goffstown and tough, we're going to move to 114 pounds. And your 1 seed is a very well-known last names. It's been around Goffstown for quite a bit. It's Reeves, and that's Adri Reeves. She's your 1 seed. Very tough, very technical. Been committed. Had a bigger brother that was probably always beating her up, and she didn't even know she was learning wrestling at the time. Your 2 seed is Casey Petronero, one of my more challenging ones that I have to deal with. Thank you, Mr. Austin. She's your 2 seed. 3 seed, Sarah May out of Goffstown. So apparently, and I wasn't sure, but multiple girls from the same team in the same bracket is allowed here.
Yeah, trying to grow it.
Yep.
They,
No, I
they
get
allow
it.
that. They allow that on the girls' side, so it's a great thing. Reeves clearly a number one. Her and Casey Pietranero. We'll keep practicing that. Second seed, they also wrestled at the Timberlane girls tournament in the finals. Reeves got the better of Casey down there. It was a little back and forth. Ended up with like 2 seconds, 3 seconds to go. Reeves picked up the pin, but Casey's been working hard since then. She actually was an entry for us in the co-ed tournament at the Division III in Conval. So she's been wrestling tough. She's a freshman, first-year wrestler. But those Goffstown lightweights are pretty tough. Charlie might know a little more about their pedigree and where they came from, but looking at them, we wrestled the girls tournament in Londonderry, and I was impressed by those lightweight girls from Goffstown at that tournament, and throughout the year they've had good results.
Yeah, I mean, Adri's definitely the clear 1 seed. She's probably one of the better wrestlers we have in the state, I would argue. And I think she is unranked in New England right now, but she's one of those girls that I would think when she gets to the tournament, she's got a real chance to place. So I would be surprised if Adri doesn't come out on top, but number 2, from what I've seen, the Plymouth girl is pretty good, Todd.
Yeah, she works hard. first year wrestler. So, she's got a judo background, so she's got that going for her. And an older sister was pretty tough as well. We'll talk about her in a few minutes.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt when you, again, it always helps when somebody's beating you long before you're supposed to be beaten. All right, so that's 114 pounds, and again, I think Reeves is very technical, very tough. She will be tough to beat, but Pierre Tronero, is that better, Todd? Did I get that one
That's
right?
closer. Yeah, you're
All
getting
right,
there.
I'm getting there. By 2028, I'm going to be good. Um, I've been mentioning her name a bunch through the season. So this one again, another good one that's going to come up on the board. Now, if we look at the 120 pound, right? I had mentioned mean and tough and ready to go to battle, and I'm not kissing your booty here, Mr. Kane. Grace is just one of those girls. She has your fire in her, that same toughness that you were known for wrestling. She's got that in her as well, as does Mr. Gabe, who's been coming along nicely there in the youth level. Um, you know, Grace has been putting in the work for a long time. I mean, I just remember her when she first started, just this gangly little skinny thing and just getting chucked all over the place and beaten up by some tough boys. And she just never quit. She was one of those girls whose head always was up and enjoyed the fight. It was just going to get in it. Even if she got beat up, next time up, raising her hand. And it's been quite a journey for her. She's turned into quite a wrestler. But the thing that I've noticed about her is the leadership that's come with her. And it's helped. It's growing the Bedford girls team up very well. And so part of that leadership is, obviously the being able to talk to the girls and enroll them and all that. But the other part of that is being able to get on the mat and kick some booty. And Grace has been doing pretty well at that. And so she's the one seed here. Avery Berardinelli out of Merrimack, also a very tough young lady, strong. That's going to be, if it ends up with them in the finals, that's going to be fun to watch. But Charlie, I'm gonna give you a minute because you're always breaking her cojones when it's at practice or at a match. But you got to be pretty impressed with the season she's had and excited for the weekend.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. She's been doing great all year. She took a tough loss at Lowell that she shouldn't have lost, and I think she took that to heart. And ever since then, she realized she's got to actually use wrestling moves rather than just beat people in the submission. And I think the last half of the season, she unfortunately got hurt a bunch of times, but she's actually been applying skill instead of just brute force, and she's been picking up a couple wins over some boys who I'm surprised she was able to beat, but I think she beat the Keene 113 that when we were home. She's had a couple big wins, so it's not just brute force anymore for her, which is a really good thing to see. And I'm really glad she took that lesson from Lowell because she was thinking she was going to go in and win and beat some girls she's been looking for in New England all the time, but it wasn't in the cards for her. And I think that was probably the best thing that could have happened, just wrestling career-wise. So yeah. I'm excited.
It's terrible, but we have to go through that to actually learn those kinds of lessons. You can't just teach somebody that. You got to feel that, and like you said, there's forks in the road of career development, and it sounds like she chose the right path. And keep the brute force and add technique, and that's going to go a long way. And is she a sophomore or junior?
She's a sophomore this year, so
So
plenty of time left.
2 more solid years here in New Hampshire, and I'm sure she's got already visions of moving on to continue her career. So should be fun to watch her. Coach Austin, what do you got to add?
I just want to say you mentioned Grace's leadership, and I remember we were at the I think it was the Conval tournament early on in the year, and she was on the sideline watching one of the other female wrestlers from Bedford wrestle. I forget what weight, but she put more energy into that match from the sideline cheering on her teammate than some kids put in on the mat. So you're absolutely right about that. I look forward to seeing Grace do great things down there on Saturday. And I mentioned to you earlier, Charlie and I were college teammates, so it's always good to see son or daughter of your teammates doing well. So I wish her the best, and I think this bracket is hers to lose, so to speak, and hope she does great.
You know, I got to say that touches my heart, Coach Austin. The only thing that I would wonder is if there was a Plymouth wrestler in there, would that have been the same statement? I don't know, but we'll leave that for next year.
It might be a little different, but it's always bittersweet when one of your kids loses to somebody that you're close to. So it
Yeah,
is what it
hey,
is.
that's what makes this community great because we know on Saturday there's going to be some upsets and some friends just crushing each other, and then after they're hanging out and they're going to go about their life as friends and they're going to train at their club and get ready for nationals or whatever's next for them. So it's a beautiful thing. All right, so let's move along here. We're heading to the Queen's Kingdom here, 126 pounds. Number one, Liz Donovan from Pelham. Whole bunch of good stuff to say about her. We'll get to her. Ellis Pietranero is your 2 seed
There
out
you
of
go.
Plymouth. Getting that one, huh? Last week of the season, I'm killing it. Your 3 seed is Isabel Boisvey, Bedford. And then everybody else seems to be unseated, but it's Michelle Keeve, Genevieve Snell, and Mackenzie McLeod. And so 126 is a battle for number 2. It's just the way it is, and that has nothing to do with it being a girls' bracket or anything, because there's a couple of brackets on the boys' side that are the exact same way, and the reason is Queen Donovan. She's your 1 seed again, out of Pelham, and she is one of the original OGs. She wasn't the first to wrestle in New Hampshire, but she's the first on a lot of things that a female wrestler from New Hampshire has done. And it's going to be very difficult to see a loss in any part of the bracket for her. She's just that dominant. She's going to go down to New England, and I know that's where she won't look past this weekend, but her eyes are set on New England, and she's going to move on and most likely go and wrestle in college. And so, one last hurrah, we in New Hampshire get here with her. It's been an absolute honor to watch her wrestle and develop as, again, a young woman, a leader in the room. Pelham, they grew their program, number of girls there, and it's just been tremendous to watch her continue to lead the way for the next generation. And I'm sure she'll close out with a title here at 126 pounds. That being said, we do have to wrestle the matches. Everybody was saying the same thing about Dan Gable and his final NCAA tournament. We all know how that turned out. So, Coach Austin, give me the case.
Yeah, so Ellis Pietranero, she's a second-year wrestler for us. She's a junior now. Older sister to Casey, who's at 114. Again, they have a pretty good judo background. Mom and dad are pretty involved with that. Liz Donovan, like you said, done great things. 3-time champ in the co-ed division at Division 3, and she's going to be tough to beat. But Ellis has been putting in the time, putting in the work. She's in great shape right now. But you can't look by the Bedford girl boy there. However you say that, Charlie, you can fix us in a minute. That semi match is going to be big just to get into the finals. I know the Bedford girls all wrestle tough. And Ellis, she's perennially, the 3 tournaments that were all girls she's been to, she was runner up at each of them. So she's looking to break through to win one. This is going to be a tough one to win, but she's always game in these brackets.
Yeah, you gotta lace them up. And so, Coach Charlie, like you said, 3 seed, at least she's on the bottom side of the bracket. Only got to get to Donovan, and it's all right losing in the finals to a person like Donovan. So, assuming gets past Kiev from Memorial in the quarterfinals, sets up a good match in the semis. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I don't think they met each other this year, so I'm really excited to see it. I think regardless of what side of the bracket they were on, we would have ended up wrestling a true second probably. So, again, it's really tough to say anyone's going to beat Liz. I would really like to see that match, but she's that good. And you see a wrestler with national ambitions rather than just regional, and Liz is one of those people. So she's just that good, and I think it really is in this case a battle for second. But Izzy, I think, is definitely not going to fall off these brackets in years to come. She's a second-year wrestler for us. and she's only gotten better in the last year by, I would say, leaps and bounds. So I'm really excited to see that semifinals match. I don't know how it's going to go, but I know how I want it to go, Todd.
Yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
me too, Charlie. It's all right.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. You know, I think the thing that I love that I keep hearing is hey, she's a first year wrestler, she's a second year wrestler, and I'm watching these young ladies, and boy, they're learning quick. They're they're not just flopping around out there like we all know girls mature quicker mentally. They're a little more focused in the teen years, I think, and so it shows how quickly they're really picking up the basic skill sets and then taking them to that next level. And so um, Liz set a great example for technique. She used to be a little bit like that Grace, right? Just trying to be that hammer all the time, and then she really developed her skill set, and it carried her a long way. So be fun to watch her one last Saturday in New Hampshire, and then off to New England, I'm sure. All right, 132 pounds. So it's another Lynch from Salem. This time it's Kira Lynch. She's your one seed. Just as tough as her brother, just hasn't figured out the accolades and all that just yet, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing her for the next couple of years. Your two seed is Brielle Egan. She is out of Pelham. Excuse me, guys. Three, Sophie Cologne, Spalding. And I got a question here for you guys. Might be able to help me out. Audrey Shaw, Bedford, your four seed. Lindsay Stewart. Is that's not Muskoma? What is that? Mountain View? What is some MVRHS? Todd, what is that? It's Muskoma, right?
Mascoma Valley Regional. Yep,
Why do
that's
they put it
Mascoma.
in MASC sometimes? It's just Flo trying
That's
to mess with me.
that would be Messinic.
Oh,
MASC. Yeah,
yeah. Way to set me straight. See, Austin?
yeah,
Good for me.
yeah.
All right. Well,
I actually
anyway,
picked that up in your review of the D3. I should have
thank you.
texted you.
You should have. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. I get by with a little help from my friends. But anyway, Stewart from Muskoma, apparently. She's a five seed. And Kaylee Bean, White Mountains, she's in the bracket on the top. She faces Lynch right out of the gate. So tough, tall order for her. I mentioned Lynch, right? Older brother, probably been beating her up for a while. She's tough. She gets out there. She's very focused, and she is very competitive. And so I think rightful one seed there. The question I had for you two gentlemen, if you could help me out, is this. So Lynch is the one seed. She's got a match in the quarters. The two seed has a match in the quarters, but the three seed has a bye to the semis. Is it something with heads up stuff? Well, how did that
Well,
work?
yeah. So the buys get drawn in randomly. It's a team score thing. So let's just say, on the boys' side, Timberlane has 8 finalists at the D1 tournament. If they all had a bye in the first round, the scoring would be skewed because they wouldn't have their chances to pick up a pin or get those bonus points. So the buys are always drawn in randomly for that
Okay.
reason.
All right, perfect. That makes sense. I figured there was some reason, and I mean, it wasn't just some like mistake. But
Yeah.
so Charlie, you got Audrey Shaw, Bedford, four seed. On the top of the top side of the bracket. So if she gets a win in the opening round, she most likely meets Lynch in the semis. If not, it's Bean. Either way in the semis against a tough opponent. So give me a little background on Shaw and what your expectations are.
Similar path to Izzy, but she's a second year wrestler, or sorry, third year wrestler. She was with me in middle school. I think Audrey's probably got a good chance to at least get to the semis. She had a close match with Stewart, I think, earlier in the season, but she's one of those girls that has just continued to work, continued to get better. It's tough to think that Lynch isn't gonna at least get to the finals because she's been on kind of a tear all year. But I think Audrey's one of those girls that she's a sophomore now. You give her some time. She's definitely going to be at the top of these brackets as time comes on. And I think all these girls have a chance to upset each other. You got, I think that Pelham girl got third at Lowell, and Sophie from Spalding, she ended up with second at Timberlane behind Lynch. So really, the only clear-cut one here is Lynch is the favorite, but all the rest of them can definitely beat each other.
I love that. We could look like fools at any time. It's
Yep.
beautiful. Nothing makes me happier than when I do one of these preview shows and it doesn't go the way I talk about, and that kid finds me at a tournament and goes, "Yeah, I guess you're not so smart, huh?" And I'm like, "Hey, you're right, you know." And but again, I want to stress, this is just opinions based on what we see, and I just want to watch the matches with a little excitement. So that's why I like to talk about it. All right, so Coach Austin, what do you got to add for the 132-pound bracket?
So yeah, I agree. Lynch is probably the cream of the crop here on this weight. And it's kind of briefly mentioned by Charlie earlier about the true second. So in a bracket like this, when there's a lot of girls, that have beaten each other and whatnot, we will wrestle a true second to make sure we get the right two girls at New England's. Meaning, if the champion, beats the if they haven't, the second and third place girl haven't faced each other, they get a chance. The third place girl gets a chance to wrestle for second, which is a nice thing.
I love it.
Based on just the top two going to New England. So this may be a bracket that we see something like that happen. Because like Charlie said, other than Lynch, anything can happen in these brackets. But other than Lynch, it's kind of a dogfight down there for the second and third place spot.
Yeah, and you kind of jumped in my head because I was wondering if it was the top two or three that they were going to allow down there.
Just the top two.
Is that
Yeah.
New England wide, or is it similar to how they do it with the boys, right? Mass gets a bunch more because they're a bigger state. Is that same thing here?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think Mass gets 6. So I'm not sure how many Maine gets. I think Maine's the same boat as us. Vermont gets 2. We get 2.
yeah. And
And
Connecticut, I
gets
think,
a bunch,
gets an
but
extra, maybe 4. But yeah, it's based on numbers and results and things like that.
Yeah.
Similar to the boys.
I'd like to see maybe expand that to the top three while we're trying to grow it. I think there's room for that, but what do I know?
I think it's coming.
Okay. Yeah, hey, listen, baby steps. Think about where we were, pre-COVID. It didn't look anything like it does now. There was no hope. All right, so let's move along. We'll jump into the 138-pound division. And in that one, you got number 1 seed Carly High from Bedford. Your 2 seed is Tegan Hershey, and Hershey is out of Plymouth. Seeing a trend here, boys. Ava Burby is out of Souhegan. That's your 3 seed. You also have Jalen Valentin out of Londonderry, and then Taylor Davis out of, is that New Ipswich?
Newport.
Excuse me, Newport. Oh yeah, Davis from Newport. I know her. All right, so Charlie, lead us off. You got the number 1 seed. Here's Carly High coming out at 138 pounds. She wants to win, right?
absolutely, Carly. So as she would say, she's new to the sport. She's a first-year wrestler, but just unbelievably tough. Great work ethic. Probably, if she had been around longer, it wouldn't even be a discussion kind of situation because she's just that hard of a worker. She's always doing extra work, extra practices. Unfortunately, she got hurt right after she kind of easily walked through Lowell, and she's been out most of the season. So I'm glad actually didn't get a bye in the first round, so she gets a chance to wrestle a little bit before she gets the Londonderry girl, who I'm fairly sure she's already beaten this year. So I haven't seen, Todd, I haven't seen Hershey, but I think Carly's pretty darn tough. So I'm looking forward, and I'm hoping she's all healed up and ready to crush some girls this year.
Yeah, so Coach Austin,
Yeah.
your wrestlers on the bottom side. Obviously, I'm hoping now that they both make their way there, but make the case.
Yeah, so Tegan came to us as a freshman. Freshman year, took her lumps. She just works so hard. And I constantly got to tell her to stop being so nice. She's just, the one of the nicest people I've ever met. And we've seen signs of that this year. We went up to Maine early in the season, and she took third up there and wrestled really good. She went to the Timberlane tournament, took first at the Timberlane tournament in the girls division, and she's a junior now and just works so hard, and it's somebody that, you know, if you want to see somebody win a tournament and win matches, it's Tegan. Just the way she goes about doing things and working hard, and you know, she's ready to go. I haven't seen Carly wrestle, possibly because of that injury Charlie mentioned, but um, Tegan's ready to go, and hopefully she can do great on Saturday.
What year is Hershey?
Tegan's a junior.
All right. And what about Carly?
She's also a junior.
Okay, so we got him for 2 more years. All right. That'll be
Yeah.
fun. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that bracket. That's again, it could be a Plymouth Bedford heads up. You guys might be yelling at each other a lot this weekend. All right, so the next one, we got this one kind of highlighted because this one's going to be a good one, right? So it's the 145-pound division, and don't pay attention to the seeds because it's kind of all over not all over the place, but the possibilities are all over the place, right? This is the Doctor Strange multiverse of brackets. You know, you can play it out a bunch of different times and it could look a whole lot of different ways. So, starting off, you got your 1 seed. That's Mackenzie Lacoste out of Spalding. Your 2 seed, very tough, Isabel Brandt out of Souhegan. 3 seed, Caitlin Zanoni out of Pelham. I believe, Todd, you said a 5th-place finisher last year in New England.
Correct.
You also got Aurora Beto from Manchester West. And so this one's got a whole bunch of tough young ladies in here. So, Coach Austin, I'm going to give you the lead on this one. I know you're very familiar with a bunch of these young ladies, so tell me what your thoughts are on 145.
Yeah, so very tough bracket, top four. I'm not familiar with the girl from West, but I'm sure she's just as tough as the rest. Isabel Brandt, we know, was a state champ last year, New England place winner at the same weight. Busby and Zanoni were at 138 last year. In an interesting little twist, Busby was actually the runner-up in that weight last year. Zanoni got in as the 3rd-place finisher because Busby was injured, was unable to participate at New England's. And so Zanoni does nothing else but go down and places 5th at New England's as the 3rd-place finisher from New Hampshire. And then Lacoste from Spalding is 2-1 against Brandt this year, who's the defending champ in this weight. So I'm excited about this weight. I think any of those top 4 girls could win it. Any one of these 4 girls could go to New England's and do very well. And you know, this weight, even though there's only 5 girls, it's very deep, and I think it's going to be great to see who can come out of this bracket and be the champ here on Saturday.
It's actually too bad we can only bring 2 because I think all 4 could place.
Correct.
Earlier in the year when they were at the Londonderry tournament, the girl that Isabel Brandt and Lacoste wrestled is probably one of the best chances for a New England champ. And I think Isabel had a pretty good match with her, and unfortunately Lacoste had the medical forfeit out, so we didn't get to see. But I'm telling you, any one of these girls could place, and if they're doing that well against Shelby, who is a great wrestler, it's, like I said, too bad we can only bring 2.
Yep. Yeah, that's going to be a really good bracket. And Zanoni, you know, been watching her for a while. She's come a long, long way. Again, I would say, with all due respect, right, like a disciple of Donovan, right? Donovan is the leader of that team from that perspective, boys and girls, right? And Zanoni bought in and has really turned into quite a wrestler. So 145, mark it on the schedule. Listen for it on the just do a reminder on everybody. When are we going to get, let me go on a tangent here for just a quick second. When are we going to get all this under one roof, do a 2-day thing? Like, what is going on here? Why can't we just get rid of the division round, or keep that, make that all on one day or 2 days, right? In one place. I like all 3 divisions. Why can I only be a fan of one on the day? I hate it. So, all right, I'm done. All right, so let's keep it moving. So next up, 152 pounds. This one, This one's another one where you got a trailblazer as the number one seed in Sadie Nadeau. She's from Spalding. Your two seed is Fira Schaefer out of Londonderry. I don't see a 3 or 4 next to Iasis Alvarez or Tabitha Bland. I just make up that there just isn't enough criteria for them to figure out what the seeding would have been. We're down to 4 in the bracket, but without a doubt, Sadie's got to be the real big heavy favorite here. And if you're gonna wrestle her, boy, you're gonna know you wrestled that girl. She is tough, heavy hammer on top. So if she gets that takedown, she's gonna wet blanket you. Anybody here unfamiliar with Sadie? There you
She's
go.
been
Yeah,
great for
yeah.
several years now, so it's really tough not to know who she is.
So, Coach Kenna, what do you think? Anything
Like I
different?
said, I've seen Sadie probably, oh my gosh, how many years has she been wrestling? She's been top all the way through, so it's great to see her here. I'm excited to see her head off to New England. I think Schaefer placed last year at States, but I don't know that they've had a head-to-head. It's kind of a tough bracket to talk about because these girls just haven't seen each other that much. Other than the fact that we know Sadie's been getting better and better every year, and I think she is one of those girls that can place at New England for sure if she gets the right attitude when she gets there.
Yeah, and one of the other thing about Sadie, she's like Liz, right? She was wrestling before there was ever any separation between the boys and the girls, and that just comes with some big lumps. And she kept taking them, and then she kept beating the boys, to a certain point. And then once things really spread out and we started to fork that in the road, it was very clear how much further ahead she was than anybody else she faced. And very similar path for Donovan. And so it's going to be super exciting. I can't reiterate it enough that the more and more as we kind of fork off into those two directions and the competitiveness builds because of the participation. Again, we all know largest growing, quickest growing sport, women's wrestling, which is amazing. And so as these brackets continue to fill out with the talent that has been at it on the youth level for, 6 years and then add 4 years into high school. I mean, what are we going to be watching? It's going to be nuts.
Yeah, you can definitely tell which ones have been forged in the fire, so to speak.
Yes,
Sadie's one
correct.
of them. Liz is
Yep.
another.
Yep. All right. So let's, Coach Austin, anything to add in there?
I would just agree with Charlie and what you said about Sadie. She's been at it for a long time, and uh, her time is due to go down to New England, get on the podium, and have a great showing. Four girls in this weight, but it should be a good test.
Yeah, and all I can say to that 4 girls in the weight thing or 3 people or whatever it is, all you can do as a competitor is properly prepare for the day, and then you wrestle who they put in front of you, and that's it. And so
That's it.
you do what you can do, and then that's all you're in control of. So 165 pounds, another 4 woman bracket here. Ayla, there's an extra E. I don't know if it's Saturn or Saturn, if it's silent, it's crazy, but I'll call her Ayla for right now. She's your 1 seed out of Bishop Garten. 2 seed, Jillian Boncourt out of Alvern, very tough young lady there. You also have Samantha Bennett and Aubrey Mevagachi. Well, hacking names like I normally do. But that's your 165-pound bracket. I'm actually not too familiar with excuse me, Ayla out of Bishop Garden until a couple of weeks ago, where I started to see her at a couple of things that I've been. She's tough,
Yep.
and she's going to go after. So, Coach Charlie, what do you know about these young ladies?
It's a small bracket, but at the same time, both the girls, the 1 and 2, I think both have a good chance of placing in New England. So Ayla, I've seen her wrestle a couple of times. She is tough, and I think right now she's even ranked in New England. She went last year. I don't think she placed, but she is definitely one of those girls that I would expect to have a good chance to get at least top 6. And Jillian, also, I've seen her for a while now. I think she's been around a couple of years. I'm glad to see her here because I think this is going to be a good matchup between the two of them. Again, I'm not too familiar with the other 2 girls in the bracket, so that doesn't mean they're not as good. But I just haven't seen them. I've only seen Ayla and Jillian so far.
Yep. Coach Austin, anything in 165?
Yeah, again, I agree with Charlie. The top two are, they're pretty tough. Boncourt has been around. I've heard that name a few times over the years. Unfortunately, when we wrestled Mascoma Valley, their girl was injured and didn't get to participate. So, kind of unfamiliar with the other two on there. But, you got to wrestle it out, like you just said about the last bracket. It's 4 girls, and, cream will rise to the top. So,
Yep. Agreed. And we're going to rise to the next bracket, which is the 185-pound bracket, which is actually half the size of the other two. We got 2 in this one. That's okay. Again, I don't know how they'll set that up, if they're going to have them wrestle a couple of times or if that's just a one and done. But rightfully so. I don't care who else you put in there. Madison Beauregard was going to be the number 1 seed. This young lady, I mean, we've all watched her. She's on a very tough Concord team, right? D1 program, storied D1 program, right? They're just not in the division. They're cream of the crop in D1, and she's got to grind just to be on the JVs, and she does it. She's been at all the BGS brawls since I can remember. She got her little brother, who's not little. He's huge, but she's just been putting in the work. And in this instance, she'll come in and she's probably going to beat up Maya Coombs pretty good, pretty quick. And Coombs is out of Milford. And again, you got to wrestle the match. Anything can happen. But if I had to put my house on the line, Miss Beauregard is going to be taking down the win here at 185 pounds. And I know she's got her eyes set on New England's, and she was not happy with last year. And I know she's going down there with a very big chip on her shoulder. She's been working really hard. She's as nasty and mean as ever. Charlie, you must love her. She wrestles like a killer. And she's going to represent New Hampshire very well down in New England's. Quick pit stop, on Saturday, battle it out with Maya. But I'd offer you both the opportunity to, Madison's been a good role model for a lot of young ladies here.
yeah, so I definitely agree with that. This off season, I couldn't get through the girls preview, Ben, without mentioning our girl Haley. She's injured, but Haley Demers and Madison traveled together in the off season. They went to some tournaments in the Northeast, Penn State, headlocks on the Hudson, all these things. Traveled around a little bit with a team out of Maine, and Maddie has put in the time. Like you said, she was probably a little upset with her New England finish last year, and I expect her to go, win this match. It will be, I believe, just one match, unfortunately, for these girls on the day, but they'll both head to New England's, and I think, she's got a great chance of placing down there, if not winning the New England tournament. So, cheering for her, and hopefully she does great.
Yep, and I can tell you this: it might be one match on Saturday, but I'd be hard pressed to believe that she's not going to be someplace on Sunday training, getting ready for New England. So, like I said, quick pit stop down in Derry for her, and then down to Providence for her next big step. So, all right, we are down to our final brackets, the 235-pound bracket. We got a 1 seed here, and that is McKinley Damaris out of Winnisquam. Tough young lady there. And we got 2 other contestants here. You got Jamie Burt. She's out of Timberlane. And then you have Peyton LeClaire out of Kingswood. And I got to be honest, guys, I don't know too much about any of these young ladies except for Jamie Burt. And I don't know that I know her from wrestling. I know her from the way that her coaches talk about her. She's a girl who, new to wrestling. She's, battling some big, strong, tough boys in the Timberlane room. It's not an easy room to step into as a brand new wrestler, no matter who you are. And the way that her coaches talk about her and her teammates talk about her, she's got some promising days ahead of her. She's working hard. She's gotten a lot better through the season. And again, a lot of these girls, they're just brand new. And so I just wanted to say, Miss Bird, if you're ever getting frustrated that it's not going the way you want, just stay patient, because the people that are training you believe in you, and don't need much more than that. So, Coach Austin, Coach Kenna, anything to add in the 235?
I haven't seen these girls. I don't think they've really been wrestling that much in anything we would have seen, but I'm going to tell you, just having a daughter in a D1 program, it's hard. And to see the only girl from Timberlane at all, there's no
Ever?
way that girl isn't tough. So interested to see how she does, but it's really tough at D1 if you're a girl because you pretty much every time you're getting smashed by some Salem kid, some Timberlane kid, or some Concord kid.
Yep. Coach Austin, what
Yeah,
do you got?
I think any division, regardless, there's only so many Liz Donovans that can scrap with these boys. Nothing against the girls, but it's been great seeing them get involved in wrestling. Practicing with the boys daily, wrestling a lot of boys. Getting tougher and just doing what they do. It's been great, and I'm just happy that they have their own state tournament to show their skills and do what they do. So I'm looking forward to Saturday, and heavyweight bracket is another bracket that we're gonna have a champ, and we're gonna send two kids to New England's, and hopefully they do great.
Couldn't have said it better myself, guys. First and foremost, thank you for taking the time to meet. But before we can be all nice, we do got to talk a little bit about the team race because there's a good team race that could happen here. With all the madness of each bracket that we just talked about, anything could land any way. So I guess all I want to say about the team race is this, because I'm going to let you guys stay neutral because you guys are competing, and I don't want you to have to, you know, put your word on anything. But no Joe Namath guarantees or anything. But I do know this. You guys are already bald, so you're not going to lose any hair on Saturday where those girls are making you nuts and keeping it close because it's going to be a good, tight race. There's such parity throughout for the most part. There's a couple of hammers, which happens in wrestling. It just happens. David Pinto, hammer, right? It just happens. And so to add on to what you said, Todd, it bothers me when I see a girl who I know is technically better than a boy been wrestling for 3 or 4 years, and this kid can come in and just overpower her. The level playing field has me very excited. I think it bodes well for confidence building and retention rate in the sport. Quick little story. When I was in seventh grade, I wrestled on the high school level. There was no middle school stuff. And I took a bus from my junior high. I went up to high school and I wrestled at Nashua. And they were not nice like they are today. We'll just leave it at that. And I didn't actually wrestle my eighth grade year because it was like going to the gallows every day, 5, 6 days a week with those guys. It was just not enjoyable at all. And I think oftentimes we lose some young ladies who have the courage to come out and try the sport, which is courageous in itself. But to do that and to have to walk into a practice room where there's only young men full of puberty chemicals that are going crazy, I'm happy we have it this way. And I think this is going to be the way for the future for this sport. And it takes great guys like you to pass the knowledge on and treat them as athletes. And they're equal athletes in that sense. They deserve the exact same coaching and commitment that everybody else gets. And I want to commend you guys for taking not only an interest, but a lead in it and traveling around and providing a lot more opportunities for these young ladies. I hope that the numbers continue to grow. And I'm looking forward to a great tournament. So thank you very much, guys. We'll see you on the mats.